Thank you, Rob. Now we have the second speaker, Mr. Sanjeev Wazir. He will be speaking on Marine Engine Lubrication 2020. Mr. Sanjeev Wazir graduated in Mechanical Engineering from IIT Bombay in 1981. A stint in Scindia workshop was followed by a decade at sea as a marine engineer with SCI and other companies. Having sailed as an engineer on liner, container, bulker and tanker vessels, he came ashore as a superintendent with Garware Shipping and then joined the family ship repairing business. Thereafter, he represented Chevron Marine Lubricants and later BP Marine Lubricants in India. Mr. Wazir is now technical advisor to Lukoil Marine Lubricants. He has been a guest faculty in tribology and lubrication at several leading marine institutes in Mumbai. He is a member of the Institute of Marine Engineers India, the Tribology Society of India, and the Society of Tribologists and Lubrication Engineers. Mr. Wazir is a certified lubrication specialist from STLE. I request Mr. Wazir, please.
Good morning, everybody. Thank you to the organizers in Marco and Institute of Marine Engineers for giving me this opportunity to speak on this topic. They've sequenced it very well. Rob has spoken a lot about what I was going to be talking about in terms of the complexity in fuels which are coming about. So the introduction part of my presentation is actually done. Lukoil, probably not many people are aware of it, but it's about a 27-year-old oil company. It could be counted among the oil majors now. We are, in terms of global crude reserves and production, we are like 2% of global crude reserves and 1% of global crude production. We got into marine lubrication about 10 years ago. And we are now about 15% of the world marine lubricants market supply. So it's been a very fast growth. And one of the reasons for that, we believe, is the focus on R&D. The focus on R&D. And it started off in 2012 when the new engines were being designed and coming to sea. We had kind of realized that the standard 70BN cylinder oils would not probably meet the corrosive nature of these engines. And so we had the product 100BN oil designed and approved by the OEMs well before the actual requirement came on the market. And then since 2012, when the engines started coming out, we had the right product for that kind of engine corrosiveness. Thereafter, we've developed something called the Intelligent Cylinder Oil Lubrication System. I'll talk a bit about it later. And we came up with a full range of environmentally acceptable lubricants in 2014 when US Coast Guard and VGP requirements required that. And again, I believe we have the industry-leading formulation for that, and we see many competitors now adopting the same kind of technology that we have. We improved our main engine systems, system oils also from 2015 onwards. It's a new formulation which meets the load, stress levels, etc. of the new design engines. And then in 2016, when the ECA sulfur content cap came about, we had a new cylinder oil for that region, ultra-low sulfur fuel oils. And since 2017, we have been focusing on developing products which will be suitable for the 2020 fuel regime. So currently, our main focus is on, we have developed a 140BN oil. Although we are talking about sulfur content going down, currently there are some engine designs which are so corrosive in nature that even 100BN is falling a bit short. I mean, you need to increase the feed rate to such a level that it becomes uneconomical, and too much oil going through is also not a good idea. So we have actually developed a 140BN oil which is undergoing tests on many vessels. So that is one focus to meet the corrosive nature of the latest engine design. Some of the G-type engines from MAN and some of the WX engines from Wärtsilä seem to be so corrosive that could do with a higher BN oil. Then we have developed the Ultra for the ultra low sulfur region areas, which are now being, and we've developed an MCL Extra, which I'll talk about a bit later, but now being tested out on a very wide variety of fuels, which, as Rob mentioned, is being predicted. The complexity of the fuels being that will be available from 2020 onwards is going to be quite wide, so we needed something new, and that's what we have developed. And for the 4-strokes, we already had a wide range of lubricants, but also in that range, we have added a couple of products which will meet this complex nature of fuels which is coming around. OEM's guidelines are for the high sulfur areas. It is now for the very high sulfur newest engine designs 100 to 140 BN oils, and at the low end for MAN it is the 15 to 20 40 BN oil for MAN, and for Wärtsilä it is 15 to 25 BN. So one important thing which has recently come out is from MAN there is now a restriction on the viscosity of the lower end viscosity of the cylinder oil. Earlier, MAN Wärtsilä had already put that restriction that minimum viscosity should be 18.5. Actually, what they used to prescribe is an SA50 oil. SA50 is a range from 16 to about 21. So you could have any oil of viscosities between 16 and 21 and still get called as an SA50 oil and apparently meet the specs. But over a period of time, it's been realized that getting the right viscosity in is important, because the oil film thickness is actually proportional to the viscosity. So higher the viscosity, more the oil film thickness, and more the additive content you get in the rubbing area. So we always had a 20 CST. We always maintained a 20 CST, but there were oils in the market, very well-known products, which were around 16.5 and 17 and 17. So now MAN also has come on board and saying that minimum 18.5 needs to be maintained. As I said, we developed the 100 BN. That's the original 100 BN product, and it was well approved well before the actual requirements at sea were perceived, and that was one of the starting points of our growth in this market. This was the MCL Ultra that we developed for the ultra low sulfur fuels, which came about in the ECA regions. The issue with as you go low in sulfur is sulfur itself also acts as a kind of a lubricant. So you have less of it, so you have less of that mild wear that helps to maintain the open structure of the cylinder liner. So you tend towards chemical bore polishing. And on the other side, if you have too much additive in the oil, you have additive deposits forming on the cylinder head, which then leads to mechanical bore polishing. So both ways it was, so the normal low BN cylinder oils were kind of not matching what was actually required. So we developed that ultra low sulfur a product called MCL Ultra specifically for that ultra type of fuels. This was also validated by tests done by OEMs who also commented that using the normal low BN oils could result in deposits on the piston top land, on the piston ring grooves, etc., which would possibly lead to wear and obstruct movement of the piston ring, etc. So this came about in 2015. Now with the 2020 sulfur cap coming about, there are going to be, as Rob pointed out, two groups basically, the ones with the scrubbers which can continue to use the high sulfur fuels, and the ones which will go for compliant fuels. And as Rob also mentioned, the complexity of the fuels in the compliant fuel range is going to be immense. You could have a huge variety of fuels, and again OEMs started feeling that one cylinder oil might not meet the entire requirements of a variety of fuels. You might end up having to have a 20 BN oil and a 40 BN oil to meet all this. And so we were working on this idea also, and we developed a kind of a balanced product which can meet everything from 0.5 downwards. So one cylinder oil which will meet all requirements of cylinder lubrication for the entire variety of compliant fuels that is perceived to be coming around from 2020 to meet 2020 norms. So that will be that kind of a balanced product that is going to meet that entire range. We continue with the ultra product also, because vessels which are continuously moving in the ultra region can continue with that kind of a product. So that is the new introduction, MCL Extra, which we introduced in 2017 in preparation for this. So currently being validated on a variety of fuels, on a variety of vessels. So by 2020, we should be very well experienced with the performance of that product. Happy to inform that in the recent last few months, many of our competitors have also announced that they are also working on this kind of a balanced kind of a product which will meet 2020 requirements. So again, it seems we have led the way in this work also. So by 2020, I believe most major cylinder lubricant manufacturers should have products suitable for compliant fuels. This is one of the test engines that was used. So it was introduced in 2017, and now it's being used on a very wide variety of engines with a variety of fuels also. I just wanted to mention here, usually we used to designate cylinder oils by the BN, 70 BN, 100 BN, 140 BN, etc., 40 BN. The BN used to be there, part of the name. But very consciously, we have taken the BN figure out of these two products, MCL Ultra and MCL Extra. Because as you would realize, at these levels of sulfur, at 0.5 and 0.1, the BN is not the key thing. It's losing its significance in terms of neutralizing capability. What you need is the kind of detergency and dispersancy which will take care of the products of combustion which will be produced by burning these fuels. So the focus now and more is towards the detergency and dispersing package rather than only focusing on the BN. So although these products, the Ultra product is a 20 BN oil and the Extra product is a 40 BN oil, we have consciously taken the BN number out of it, so that the focus is more on the really important parts of that formulation, the detergency and the dispersancy aspects of it. So we could, in theory, end up with a wide variety of lubricants, 140 BN for the extremely corrosive engines, 100 BN for the standard engines, 70 BN for the older engines, and the extra kind of a product for the compliant fuels, and the Ultra product in the ECA areas. So in theory, you could end up with a very wide variety of cylinder oils floating around. And but we also have a unit called the Intelligent Cylinder Oil Lubrication System, the ICOLUB system. In fact, I had introduced that in a paper at Inmarco 2014. So this is a nice opportunity to recap that. It's a unit which uses high BN cylinder oils, mixes it with system oils, and produces the BN of a product that you require for the sulfur content of the fuel that is being used. The idea being that, okay, for the new engines, 100 BN is the standard cylinder oil, but it's not that all the time you'll be running with 3.5, 3.4% sulfur. Sometimes you might be working with 2.2, 2.3, 2.5% sulfur also. So you don't need the full strength of the 100 BN to burn that. And so we have this unit which mixes different proportions of system oil with the cylinder oil and produces a BN which is required for that particular fuel. So it's been quite successful. We have about 80 units in operation now, about 50% on new builds, 50% retrofits. So it's been quite well received in the market. It helps to optimize the cost, the BN of the cylinder oil, and also helps you to optimize on the cost, because you, instead of burning full 100 BN, you're also replacing part of it with a much lower cost system oil. In fact, many vessels who have fitted it have also moved on to use system oil, so even further saving on the cost. So this is a unit about 1.5 meter by 1.6 meter by about 1 meter in depth. So we see three scenarios coming forward in the two-stroke region. One is the currently for the high sulfur, we have the 70 BN oil and the 100 BN oil and the 140 BN oil. And for the low sulfur region, we have the Extra and the Ultra. Going forward, vessels fitted with scrubbers. I'm sure we'll hear a lot about scrubbers from the next speaker. Vessels fitted with scrubbers can continue with the same kind of fuels And so we continue with the same kind of lubricants for that, the 70 BN, the 100 BN, and the 140 BN. And for the without the scrubbers, they continue with the extra and the ultra, the 40 BN and the 20 BN oils. And vessels fitted with scrubbers and also fitted with an ICOLUB unit could also you continue the same way, economizing on the cylinder oil cost by using this ICOLUB unit to mix system oil and bring down the BN to the required level of the fuel. And even at the low end, mixing the extra with system oil and adjusting the BN required to the fuel which is being burned on vessels. For the trunk piston engine applications, as I said, we have a wide variety of trunk piston engineers already on the market. We've also developed TPO 40 Ultra and a TPO 40 Extra, which are more specifically designed for this kind of variety of fuels which are going to be coming about. Already approved by most of the main engine makers. So we are, I think, ready for the TPO in the TPO range. Also, I think we are ready for the 2020. So overall, I would say most major lubricant manufacturers should be ready for the challenges which are coming from this complexity in the fuels which are going to be in the market from 2020. So I think that from a lubricants point of view, I think we should be all okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Wazir.